Listen up, Rangers. Look at the Geek Chest. My name's Steve.
Why am I here? And my name is Arnaz.
Good question. You said you were going to see the movie Saturday, and then you never did.
I had some issues I had to take care of.
Sure you did. But so today I will be just...
Can you see the issue, Steve?
Can you see the issue?
No, it's blurry.
Right. He got attacked by his doggy. And by attacked, I mean she tried to love him and then clawed his face accidentally.
Well, she usually doesn't get on my bed because my bed is big. She can't jump on it. So she jumped on my bed while I was sleeping. So she thought I was playing with her, so it got...
Yeah.
And then... And it's like, oh my God.
Thankfully, my dog just lays on me when I lay on the bed. Like, he just plops. But anyways, today we're going to be discussing the movie Hellboy and give you my overall thoughts on the movie.
So since I didn't see this movie, I'm just going to chill on my phone. You got this, Steve.
But anyways, for my overall thoughts of the film, I'm just going to let you guys know right now, I didn't hate the movie. I thought the movie was actually pretty, I wouldn't say good. Good's a strong word. But it's one of those like dumb fun movies. For me, the parts that I liked about the movie a lot was the acting I thought was really good. For the most part, I thought the characters played the roles perfectly fine. I actually really liked him as Hellboy.
Even the Jonah Milovich.
How was she? She did her role.
How was she?
Granted, she doesn't really do anything in the movie. We're going to talk spoilers here, just as a heads up. But I thought she was fine. Actually, you know what? I'm going to look up the guy's name right now.
Because, like, the certain things that I seen online, was a lot of people were complaining about her. And, I mean, she has her...
Well, the problem was, it wasn't her per se, but the way the script was, I feel like is the problem.
Like, I don't have anything against
David Harbour. David Harbour was an awesome Hellboy.
I don't have anything against her, right? So, like, when I seen those, like, comments, like, where she actually commented on some of them, because it was just... It was not cool, man.
No, like, I thought she did a fine anyway.
Yeah.
Like, she was ominous. She was intimidating. Granted, she doesn't really do much of anything in this movie. Like, she's... The problem with a lot of this movie is she's there just to move the story along. For the most part. Like, she's there as... She's almost more of, like, a prop than an actual villain.
So, wait. So, she was Christian Bale in Terminator Salvation.
Kind of. She was mainly there just to remind you that she was there. Like, I like Daniel Day Kim as the were-jaguar. I liked his backstory. I thought he was cool. To me, I thought he was a pretty good badass character, and he has a lot of funny moments in the film. Sasha Lang was fine. Like, most everybody in the movie, I didn't have really an issue with. Some of the lines, like, they deliver were kind of corny. Like, you and your strong right hand. Like, especially when, like, we're trying to be touching during those scenes. But again, that kind of pertains to the script and the screenplay for me. But for the characters, like, I want a figure of Hellboy still. Like, I still like everything that involved Hellboy in the movie. I still really enjoyed.
Well, like I said, from the things I seen, I watched a couple of reviews, I watched a couple of clips, and then the actual, like, the trailers.
Yep.
I don't have problem with him. Like, he as an actor looks pretty good. Like, when he's riding that thing, like I was telling you earlier, you know, in the hell or wherever he is, and he's fighting those monsters, that looked really good.
Yeah, and for me, a lot of the stuff, too, that's really nice in this movie is all the practical effects. The practical effects in this movie are actually really awesome. Like, I really liked the Hellboy suit. I thought it looked good, and it was actually very, very convincing. And then, like, a lot of, like, the stage setups and what have you, all were really cool. And even, like, the boar monster, I forget its name off the top of my head, but he's, like, a mix between CGI and practical, depending on the scene.
Oh, as bad as this movie did this week in the movie theaters, there is hope for it. Because if you have not seen, they're making Tomb Raider 2 movie. And if that movie can get a sequel, Steve, there is hope for Hellboy. Because Tomb Raider 2 did like $30 million.
Yeah, it's just like if they could focus more on the plot, I would be happy.
So there is hopes for next one. But God, go watch the movie, you guys. I know it's not Ron Perlman, but go support it. I'm going to go watch it.
Well, we'll get to it. But for the most part, for the aesthetics of the movie, I thought it was really nice. Actually, I more or less enjoyed the hard R aspect of the movie.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are saying it was like overly violent for the sake of just being violent, and I feel like that's just kind of the way they were portraying it based off the comics.
Haven't these people ever seen Hellboy comics? I read few of them. He's violent for just to be violent.
Well, even that, it was just like the way most of the plot is throughout the movie. It didn't really bother. There's parts towards the end where it's like the demons are rampaging, and it kind of gets to be like agony where people are just getting murdered in weird, like the most grotesque ways, and that's like the only part I would say it was pretty much murder for the sake of murder.
But that's like...
But for me, a lot of like the way it's set up, it sort of reminds me of like those old Grindhouse movies, or even like Evil Dead, Army of Darkness in a way. Like not quite Army of Darkness, because to be fair, Army of Darkness I don't even think is really super violent to begin with.
No, it's not. You get those funny skeletons.
It's like Evil Dead 2 in a way. Where there's like, it's pretty violent and gross, but that's kind of just the way the movie is. And this reminds me of that, but just with some more humor. So like I really enjoyed that because it kind of took me back to like those old like 70s, 80s super cheesy movies. And I feel like that's where this movie like is. I'm not gonna say surpasses the original, but just like it trying to think of what else I said.
Trying to figure out the best way to word it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be hard sometimes.
Like how the original Hellboy is like an awesome fantasy movie.
Yeah.
While this, and coming out at a time when you have like this, the Lord of the Rings and stuff, like it all just like played together very nicely for me. And again, just reminds me of all this like certain aspect of like my fandom that I really like. And this one harkens back to another fandom that I really like, is the super violent horror movies.
And I'm okay. Like if I'm watching Hellboy, honestly, I would enjoy more super violent death stuff, it being a rated R, than the previous one.
Well, it's just like you get like more like violence even out of like the monster fights.
Yeah.
Like especially like the vampire at the beginning where he gets impaled on the ring post, which was awesome. There's just like a lot more like weird, gross stuff happens. The only thing that was kind of weird was like the spirits that are in the movie, how they are. You haven't seen the movie, so I'm not going to get into it, but they're just, it's gross the way they did them. And they don't really look like spirits to me. Now, I get it, but that was like the one thing I think they could have toned down a bit on.
They look like ghost nappas?
They look like the cocoon sack thing from Aliens.
That's amazing.
But it comes out of the girl's mouth.
Ooh, that's hot.
That's
hot.
Weird. Especially when they're supposed to be ghosts. So, like, she even explains in the movie, she's like, are you sure you want me to do it? It's super gross. They're like, well, we kind of need it. She's like, okay. And that's like the part of the film I thought was cool. Like, especially like the Baba Yaga stuff, where it's super gross, but it's like, it kind of keeps up with the aesthetics of the movie, which I really enjoyed. So for the most part, like everything was going strong for the movie. My biggest complaints though is, for the most part, the CGI is very hit and miss. Like most of the action sequences I thought were, like, there wasn't anything that really took me out of it, per se, but there's certain scenes like the demon monster things on like the side of the hills where they're like obviously fake. And then they would even focus on those monsters at some points. You're just like, please no.
That bad, huh?
Yeah, like you can kind of tell with the budget, like, and a lot of that I feel like is we're spoiled these days because we got like Alita, which uses like the Avatar CGI system, and then we got Avengers and stuff like that with these like big budget sci-fi like CGI epics, and then this has like $20 million and has like almost as long of a runtime. Which is the other thing that kind of has the issue is because for how long it is, the plot is so freaking convoluted.
Too many things at once?
Yeah, well, like it takes a lot of like instances from like certain comic books and tries to put it all into one movie.
That's what I heard.
Because like the beginning of the movie is just like one offshoot comic. And then you have The Hunt, which really didn't have much to do with anything in the movie. Like you really didn't need that to progress the story.
That is one.
There's a lot of that. Like the Baba Yaga stuff. Like, did we really need that? like she shows up to pretty much like let the pig guy know where to find the body parts, and then he goes back there to like she tells him where to essentially find the stuff, and then there's that whole sequence. But again, do we really need all that?
Not
like,
really.
That could have been maybe saved for another movie, and a lot of that could have just been used to focus more on like the dynamics that they were trying to portray in the movie, like between him and his father.
You sound angry about this, Steve.
Like I said, it was just a lot like I could follow it, but you're just like
throwing
why
stuff.
is it's cool because of that we got like the giant fight, which I liked, but we didn't need it, and a lot of stuff could have just been used more time to flesh out certain aspects that they were trying to hit home with, especially when that whole dynamic between him and his dad is pretty much the end of the movie, but you don't really feel for anything because they spent no time on it really during the film.
So you don't really care what happens.
Yeah, it's like I really could give a damn less. And you're like watching the old Hellboys, you kind of know it was coming anyways.
Yeah. And that was like they build a relationship with his dad. I felt kind of teary and bad for him and his dad, like what happens, you know?
Yeah, well, even the original one, like they don't spend that much time on it,
No.
but the movie was still like focused on what it wanted. Because him dying helped to motivate the plot along.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that I felt bad, but it was there to keep the story going.
It was necessary.
Yeah. Well, this one, it was like that. This was what the story was mainly about. So there's a lot of chafe in the movie that didn't really need to be there, but it also like gave you more fun stuff to watch. So like if you shut off your brain, you'll enjoy it more. Kind of like Transformer movies, you just don't fight it, just let it happen. Like I said, when I walked out of the movie theater, I had fun with it still. But when you sit down and start thinking about the movie, you're like, why?
That's not a good thing. So overall, Steve.
Well, and my last nitpick.
Ooh, he has more.
One last nitpick. And this is probably the biggest offender for me. Is the soundtrack.
Soundtrack?
Yeah, because it's like during certain fight sequences, the music almost takes you out of the fight.
What kind of music is it?
Like
it's a fighting. I'm expecting heavy metal, rock.
It is essentially
metal.
heavy metal, but it's like, like the giant hunt part where they're like going through the woods. It's like Irish heavy metal, right? And then we go back to that when he's fighting the giants, but it's just like it's like a video game. It is like every fight scene in this movie is essentially a video game soundtrack.
Please, no more.
And then that's really the part where I was like, wait, what? Like, I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I was like... like, when you think of, like, them fighting, like, I think of, like...
I can tell what
God
you were...
of War or, like, Lord of the Rings, in a sense.
I can tell what you were not expecting.
And then
I got... Irish heavy metal.
Yeah, and then I got, like, straight up, like Ginger Metallica just playing in the background. So, yeah. I'm allowed to say that. but so like that was the part of the movie I was just like, out of everything, that was actually the thing that probably bugged me the most. Like,
no,
I can deal with CGI because I like me some old monster movies. Like I'm okay with that. I can deal with the plot even though it's convoluted. It's not the worst thing ever. Like the Transformer movies are way harder to follow than this thing, and I still enjoy most of those.
Thanks. Now I'm going to go to movie theaters, watch this movie, and all I'm going to be waiting for is the shitty music. As
he's fighting giants. Like,
oh my god.
Like that was literally my biggest part, because it's like even like when you see in the trailers and they would play the music and you're like, this doesn't match the movie, right?
Yeah, I thought it was just from like not for
no, that's the movie. The music doesn't match what's going on.
Are you kidding me? Like
that's literally
like that clip when
the clip, like that isn't in the movie, like when this happening, but the music is sort of like that for me, anyways.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's just like for me, it's a very corny, cheesy film, and that was like the part of the movie where it's just like, all right, so without the music, I would have gave this like 7.5, like 8-ish for me.
Yeah.
Because it's like I notch it for the story. I notch it for the CGI. And then it's like music is where it goes like we're down to a 6.
Oh my gosh.
So it's probably I hate to say it, but it's probably the worst movie I've seen so far this year. Not saying that I hated it, but it's probably the movie I was the like one of the movies I was really excited to see, even after like all the people talking about, all the people crapping on it that it wasn't Ron Perlman, and I was still pumped for it because I really like David, and I thought it like his portrayal looked good, and I know it was like a totally different tone for the movie.
Yeah.
So even watching the movie, because it's almost like a completely different film the way you got with the Del Toros, it never once bugged me that it wasn't Ron Perlman.
Well, like, to me, it doesn't matter. Okay, I get it. I'm interested in watching a new Hellboy. I don't care if it's Ron Perlman or not.
Like it would have bugged me if it was like Del Toro doing it and it was David as Hellboy.
Yeah.
That would have bugged me. But because it's a completely different, like, almost even aesthetic between the two, like, there's a lot of similarities, but the tone and the way it's set up is completely different.
Yeah.
And, like, that didn't bug me. And that's why, like, I still kind of want an action figure of Hellboy. But for the most part, for recommending this to you guys, I would probably wait for it to come out in video.
Don't you say that. We need more Hellboy movies, so you go tell them to go watch it.
Oh, I can't do that to you guys. Like, if you want to go see it, like I said, I enjoy it. If you like dumb fun, like 70s, 80s, like grindhouse films, this movie is probably for you. But if you really are like a hardcore, like, Del Toro purist, or are not that into Hellboy to begin with, then this is probably something you didn't need to go check out. But when it comes out on video, I'd recommend it, especially if you're just into like horror movies in general, or that sort of genre. Like if you like Evil Dead, I'd probably give this a shot.
Oh, I love me some Evil Dead movie.
Yeah, well, I'd say like Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness. This would be more up your alley.
Definitely Army of Darkness. That was like the cheesiest, most funniest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's still like a fine movie.
Oh, I'll go see it.
But let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought of Hellboy, and help us defeat those kaijus by hitting the like button, subscribe, become a Ranger today. See you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.